welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And today we are here to prime you for the off season. The combine is over. There were some interesting things that came out of the combine. We'll be going through just right off the bat here, we're going through our player profiles for the draft, starting that this week.
Thursday.
Anthony Richardson, Thursday, coming out. Anthony Richardson, not going to want to miss that one. And we're going to go at least one a week. Some weeks we may double up and go two guys, but we're going to talk about people that, that we're going to target with the first round pick, or that Jerry and I think we could target with the first round pick.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Quarterbacks.
Mostly quarterbacks. But then we're going to talk some second, third round pick guys as well. And then we always do a final podcast where we talk some sleepers and some flyers and things like that. So it's always fun to do.
Hey, Brandon Smith was one of mine last year. We drafted him. Yeah. And the year before, I think it was
Kenny Robinson. We had
Kenny Robinson
as a flyer. We had a lot of guys.
Tommy Trimble, even though that didn't really
Tommy Trimble was in there. Yep. Yeah. We'll talk about tight ends here in a few minutes,
but before we get there, we have an Apple Podcast comment that we've been meaning to read on the air, but we keep forgetting.
5-star review.
5-star review from Anonymous 58. The podcast for any Panthers fan.
Who are you, Anonymous 58?
I think isn't it Thomas Davis is 58, so we're just gonna go with him.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, we're just gonna say that.
Use your real name, Thomas. You could use
Great stuff here, guys. After 2 listens became my go-to podcast every time there's big news about the Carolina Panthers. Y'all do a great job giving all the details. Very fun host to listen to. 100% recommend to any Panthers fan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that. 2 listens. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. 2 listens. You don't like us the first time, just try one more time. This is your first listen to us. Just give it one more after this one. And that's really where we hook you.
That's our goal.
Right? That was our plan when we started this podcast. We're like, just give us 2. Just give us 2 opportunities. Thank you, Anonymous 58, Thomas Davis. We know who you really are. We appreciate that. All right. Well, if you want to hear your comment read on the show, please drop. And even if you don't want to hear it on the show, just please drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps our algorithms, helps us get out there in front of other people. So we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, very much so. All right. So are we ready to start? The off season? Well, kind of already started since scouting combine finished, but
it's been here for a while. Yeah.
Hey, we had some sickness in this podcast that we couldn't record and stuff like we wanted to last week, but we're here now.
Yeah, the league year starts March 15th.
So we beat them.
We're right there. Yeah, we did. We got this out before then. That's really I think we win. That's
win.
Really all we needed.
Yeah. All right. J.J. Jansen signed a 1-year, $1.3 million contract for the Carolina Panthers, sticking around, longest tenured Panther of all time, I think, now.
Yeah. I think he officially passed John Casey this year, or this past season. But yeah, he can stay as long as he wants.
Yeah, in
my opinion.
Honestly, right now, I haven't seen a bad snap in years, so I'm perfectly fine. That's a position that if you have a really crappy one, you notice. If you have a good one, you never notice. So keep him around.
If you're a casual fan and you know the name of your long snapper, you do not have a good long snapper.
Most likely, yeah.
That's just it. And yeah, so we have a good long snapper because I guarantee you my wife or, just casual people that I know that watch the Panthers, they have no idea who our long snapper is.
Oh,
and that's a great thing. So welcome back, JJ. We love to see it. So we've got the Panthers plan to release Damian Wilson, freeing up $3.6 million in the cap space. We're going to hear that's kind of the first, semi-official restructure or cut that we've heard. There will be many more.
Many more.
Next few weeks, probably. Maybe even the next week, just leading up to free agency. Yeah, I would expect to see a lot more restructures, things like that. We'll kind of get into it, but let's talk about some of the Panthers unrestricted free agents.
Mm-hmm.
We have 16 of them. Now, as we go down this list, you're going to notice that most of these guys were not major contributors. There are a couple, but we're bringing back a lot of the major contributors this year at pretty reasonable prices, I think. So I'm pretty happy with this list, honestly. But go ahead and kick us off here, Jerry.
Starting off is quarterback Sam Darnold, previous 2 year starter. Spot rack, market value. He has a market value of 2 years, $10 million. Not bad. And honestly, in my opinion, it pains me almost to say this after his first year here, but
Yeah.
I would say if you're planning go rookie quarterback and your current coaching staff likes him, he's already been a proven good leader in the sense that when Baker Mayfield came here, you didn't hear him talking crap. He just showed up. He worked. And I'm sure the guys around him probably appreciated that. He didn't cause any waves. So bring him back if he wants to come back in that type of, transition type of role.
Yeah, bridge quarterback, mentor. Sam, I think, is one of those guys who will probably end up being like a quarterback coach or something after he finishes playing. He's very professional, like you said, didn't create a distraction or anything. I don't know if I want to go into the season with Sam Darnold as my starter. And that is certainly possible depending on who we draft, or if we don't. I mean, it's quite possible we don't draft one of these guys, that we just can't make the move to move up, and that we're going to be stuck with Sam Darnold and Matt Corral and Jacob Eason as our quarterback room this year. I mean, that is a possibility.
It is a very slim possibility in my head.
It's a dark timeline. It is a dark timeline. But would you rather go ahead and just sign a bridge quarterback that maybe has a higher upside than Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold looked pretty good at the end of last season.
We'll look into.
We've got a lot of years of Sam Darnold tape.
Yeah, we'll look into the free agents, but the free agents isn't a cupboard that is full. As Derek Carr has already signed with the Saints. Yeah. So, first of all, he was probably my number one free agent, but I wouldn't want to pay him what he got. I'll put it that way.
And just to be clear, not to say that Jerry wanted Derek Carr to be our quarterback.
No.
He was just the top free agent of the free agents that, if you were going to go that route, that's the one. Okay, so Sam Darnold, possible return at $5 million a year. You can't really. He's worth that.
Yeah, I mean, he looked decent, which is the best comment I could say for Sam Darnold at the end of last year.
After year one and all of his years with the Jets, like he had a stretch at the end of the season that was better than anything he's done in his career. So, Cam Irving,
bye,
gone. Michael Jordan,
guard, bye,
probably gone. Bradley Bozeman,
sign. Must
resign. I think his market value is like $12 million a year.
I'm looking that up right now. When I wrote this, I don't think it had it. It's $12 million a year, 3 years, $36 million. I would say yes. I do what you got to do.
That.
Yeah.
He was lights out for us last year. And honestly, when he played with Baltimore, he was good at center. He wasn't Pro Bowl level good. I think what he showed last year in half a season, that he can be that next level good.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to have him come back, honestly. In fact, I think we need him to come back. Scott Fitter's already talked about wanting him to come back. So I think it's going to happen.
I agree. You want to keep that O-line together. They showed so much improvement last year, and they continued to get better once Bozeman was in there. So you want to keep them together. I mean, O-line is so important. We've seen it over and over again. You finally get a clique of guys that work well together and improve throughout the season. Well, since Bozeman got in there.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to mess with this offensive line.
No.
It was really good. All right. Who we got next couple?
Wide receivers, Rashard Higgins, bye. Andre Roberts, I could see him coming back with Chris Tabor, but he didn't really flash to me.
Well, he was hurt. He was hurt the whole season.
So
And when he was not hurt, he was coming off the injury. I don't feel like we got the Andre Roberts. We didn't get the full Andre Roberts experience. I would be okay with them bringing him back as a return specialist on a good deal, like $3 million, like something very, very reasonable.
yeah, I agree.
But if not, I'd be fine either drafting someone or just having one of our guys return kicks. Kick returner, just not as big a deal as it used to be.
No, not at all. And I agree. If they want him back, that's fine. Don't break the bank for him, but
Yeah.
a 1-2 year deal, no more than 2-3 million. Yeah.
Yeah. This next guy, though, we're gonna want him back, I think. Deonta Foreman.
Sorry, I stole your thunder,
pausing for
sir.
dramatic effect. Deonta Foreman, filled in after CMC left excellently. He was one of the best running backs in the league for the second half of the season. Almost ended up with 1,000 yards with only 7-8 starts. I mean, he was really, really good. He's not going to be at the top of the price list for free agent running backs. He's probably going to be very reasonable. I mean, you could probably get him 3 years, $10 million.
Well,
3 years, $11 million.
Spot Rack, we go up by them. They're usually spot on.
Pretty close.
Pun intended. They have him 1 year, 3.4. I could see him wanting to do another short-term deal so he could, make bank next year. He's only 26. So if he has a 1,000, 1,200 yard season, he could maybe get a decent sized salary, contract after this. That's probably his free agents and stuff thinking.
Maybe, but are you in the NFL, just realistically, NFL running backs, you're going to give that first big contract to a 27-year-old? Probably not.
His big contract. There's a difference between big contract. And when I say big contract, I'm saying 3 years, 15 or so.
And we're not saying that he's not worth 3 years, 15, right?
No.
If he could give us what he gave us for the second half of last year, over 17 games for 3 years in a row, that's worth $15 million a year. I mean, that's worth CMC money. He looked really good. He's not a great receiver out of the backfield. He is a ground and pound guy. He doesn't have extreme top end speed, but he moves the chains. He is a workhorse back. He is a very good back. He's like Derrick Henry light.
Yeah, that's the way I see him too.
Yeah. So I would be happy to have him back. That being said, if we don't bring him back, it's a pretty deep free agent running back class. And there are some really good running backs in the draft. So I would not overpay for Deonta Foreman.
No, and I don't think you would have to. But you never know. There could be a team that's out there. Who knows? Maybe the Giants get rid of Saquon and they need a running back and they really like his style and fork over.
The Cowboys getting rid of Ezekiel Elliott, could be a nice compliment to Pollard there. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have talked about being interested in Foreman. I think he impressed a lot of people last year.
Oh yeah, and that's a lot of people thought of him coming out of college. Because he looked like that type of back, but he just never panned out.
Never got an opportunity, really. He was always somewhere where there was someone else.
If I remember correctly, I think he was drafted by the Texans to be their bell cow back, but something happened. I can't remember if it was, he got in trouble
I remember
or
him
something.
With Houston, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember. But for whatever reason, he's never had the opportunity to start as a full-time starter a whole season. So if we can bring him back and he can do what he did for us last year, this year, I'd be.
Oh, yeah, me too. I think he looked good last year. I see him doing that in the future as well.
Yeah. Defensive end Henry Anderson probably gone, right?
Yeah, it all depends
he was hurt a lot
on
last year, but
It depends on if this defensive Ezero really likes him or not, but I could see him
I don't
being
know that he
gone.
fits the system really, but
Yeah, that's a good
um,
point. Unless you want to kick him inside as like a 3-4 defensive end.
yeah, I mean they could bring him back on a cheap deal. Again, he didn't play much last year for us,
No.
or at least he didn't do much when he played. Someone who did play a lot and I thought was pretty good. Tackle Matt Ioannidis. Now you would know
Yeah.
maybe better than I if he fits like the 3-4 base system.
I don't think he does, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I I guess you maybe be able to make him a 3-4 defensive end, but he's definitely I don't see him as a nose.
No, I don't think so.
So
Um,
and
yeah,
I don't know where you put Derek Brown either. My assumption would be defensive end. I know earlier they said that he could play the middle, but I feel like you're hurting him by playing the middle.
yeah, there could be some growing pains in the first
Year or
half of the
two.
season, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where they're putting the right players in for this system. But, um, I like Ioannidis.
I did
He
too.
was what $10 million last year. Again, I don't know if you do that again. Um, I think he's worth it in the right system, but I just don't know enough about what they're going to try to do
I don't
this
either.
year to know if he's worth that for the team.
And the defense is very fluid because
Yeah, right.
everything that Ezra, am I saying his name right? Ezra?
Yeah, Ezra.
Oh,
Yeah,
is that he's gonna fit the scheme to what the players we have, and
right.
then eventually get players that more fit. And I think that's the best way to say it. If you can bring him back, not so bad, but Derek Brown blossomed having him next to him, so I think
Yeah,
that helps. So
I agree. And if you're going to run a 4-3, even or a hybrid, some sort of hybrid style, while you're putting together the right players for your scheme, then bring him back. I would say, but he's already not under contract. Would they bring him back under contract if he doesn't fit what they're trying to do in the future? I don't know.
yeah, I don't either.
Um, so I would just say if it fits, I'd love to have him back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. What's next?
We have linebacker Corey Littleton. This is going to be surprising, but I would like him back in a backup type of role,
Yeah.
inexpensive. He played pretty well when he was out there.
Yeah, this is another guy. I think we were excited about him when he came in, but just for whatever reason didn't jump off the screen when we watched it.
Yeah.
He made some good plays, certainly, and there were games where I thought he was very good, but there were games where he was pretty noticeably not that great. So I would agree if we bring him back, it's got to be a very reasonable backup type deal.
Yep.
Good depth, really good
Yeah.
depth.
Uh, Another linebacker here, Joel Ugabanawa. I didn't even know you
Perfect,
existed on
perfect.
our roster, and that's saying something for me.
I think he might have been a late season ad. Yeah. Ji,
I
I don't know anything about you, assuming you're not going to be on the team
can't body maybe.
anymore. Yeah. Quarterback TJ Carey was a kind of a late addition last year. Didn't see a lot of him. Not
No.
sure if he's going to be in the mix. Probably not. Sean Chandler, safety. Again, it's if the right type of deal. Again, he's got skills, but
Good depth or decent depth.
yeah, I wouldn't want him to be the starter
No.
at safety. Not especially not in the Ajiro style defense. Same really with Justin Burris.
Yeah. Just
I feel like
I don't
there are better options.
I agree.
Yeah. A couple of special teamers here. We mentioned JD Jansen's been re-signed, and then Eddie Pinheiro. They're talking about working on a deal with him. I read that today.
I wonder if they're planning on doing a kicking battle or if they're going to with Zane Gonzalez or go ahead and just let Zane Gonzalez go.
I think you just let him go. I mean, he's had season-ending injuries 2 years in a row now. Gonzalez has. So Pinheiro looked really good last year. Had the one obvious big miss that cost us a game, but outside of that, he was lights out. He was one of the best kickers in the league. So be happy to have him back.
Yeah, I think you could also free up some money too if.
Yeah, it's like $3 million or something, I think,
Yeah, I
for
was trying to look,
Zane.
but I couldn't pull it up fast enough. But I think Zane Gonzalez is like a 1 or 2 million cap freedom.
Yeah, let me see. He signed a 2 year, $4.5 million deal with us, so probably not 3 million. But his cap hit's 2 million. Yeah, dead cap's almost 700,000, so it'd free up 1.3.
Yeah.
Which is, if you don't need two kickers, so
No.
I think that's the way to go. Sign Pinheiro, cut Zane.
Yeah.
All
And you
right.
could cut Pat Elfline and free up 5 million. I'm just throwing that out there, guys. Just throwing that one out
Yeah,
there to you.
there are other guys on this team, and maybe we'll do a podcast one day where we just kind of go down the list of players that we think should be cut. Um, but yeah, there are a few. I mean, let's talk about a little bit of it right now. I mean, there's just a few off the top of my head. Like Pat Elfline is probably should be gone.
Oh,
I think he's making
100%.
too much money for a backup offensive lineman. Um, Shaq Thompson is a very difficult one. I think at the very least he has to be restructured and probably has to take a pay cut.
Well, I could see them cutting Shaq Thompson and then trying to re-sign him. It would maybe be one of those handshake deals is, hey, we're going to release you and then we're going to bring you back. Because I think if
Yeah,
you
but how
release
often
him,
does that happen though? And I think he would have value across the league.
he does free up 13 million. So
Yeah,
if you
just
sign
just
him,
cutting him, yeah, would free up 13 million because he's got a cap hit of 25 million this year.
yeah. So
That's way too much for his production,
yeah.
unfortunately.
So if we cut Ian Thomas, someone you really want, that's only frees up 1.5 million. So I don't see them
Still,
doing
that's
that.
way worth it. That is so worth it. Honestly, like, why would you keep him around?
Um, Xavier Wood saves 3 million, but you could probably restructure him and save a million or
Mm-hmm.
two. And I think he's worth saving. Or Frankie
Yeah, and
Louvu, you
honestly,
deserve everything.
I'm looking
Uh,
at Shaq right now, and he's on the last year of his deal, so there really isn't a restructure that can be done. And you
mm-mm.
could convert some to signing bonuses, stuff like that, but I don't think there's much to be done with him other than probably cutting him, which is going to leave us a massive hole at linebacker,
Oh yeah.
which was already a position of need. Would get much more. Uh,
Well, moving to the 3-4, my thought is you can move. You're going to have Frankie Louvu, Brian Burns will be an outside linebacker, and Jeremy Chin can
Chin,
also be a outside linebacker. So you're
yeah,
looking at maybe a Brandon Smith stepping up, becoming one of those key inside linebackers, which I hope he does. He's a
true,
freak
true.
athlete. And then that's where you're going to be
Barno,
kind of looking who else is out there.
well, Amari Barno, right,
Well, he would be an outside linebacker too. He's
right.
not.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking to just middle linebacker.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
it
that's
won't
the
be
thing.
Damian Wilson.
No, but they'd save more money by cutting Shaq than they would by cutting Damian Wilson.
Yeah, but Shaq is a lot more productive player than Damian Wilson's.
Agreed, agreed. But it's just, is Shaq a $25 million a year player? Now, didn't Indy was cutting their one of their linebackers, right?
Yes, they did. I can't think of his name.
But he Shaq Leonard, right? No.
No, no,
Um,
no, no, not Shaq.
dang it. Okay. Let's pause right quick and find it because I want to talk about it. So it's Bobby Okereke, Okereke. I'm sure I'm saying that name wrong, but 151 tackles last year. And the Colts are not re-signing him or cutting him, whatever the case may be. He's still pretty young. But at playing for Frank Reich, I mean, Frank Reich may have been the guy that drafted him. but I think I saw that he was somewhere slated between 12 to 14 million dollars a year.
Hmm.
So
So
could easily be a guy that we target at that position.
yeah, I let go Shaq. It really depends if he
Yeah.
fits this new system too. And I've
Right.
been just playing around on this side here while you were looking up that name. Guys, if you want to play around for off season, go to Spot Rack's like salary cap manager. It's a lot of fun. I have now freed up 30 million in 2 seconds. Scott Fitterer, please call me. I've got this deal. We are now 27 million under the cap, so we can make some deals.
Do you secretly work for the Saints? Is that how they keep? That's how they keep signing people, even though they're $50 million under the or over the salary cap.
Yeah, I mean that's what
Oh
it
my
seems
gosh.
like. But there's a
Insane.
good way that the Panthers can free up some cash. That's realistically what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said, and we've had this discussion 1,000 times, that the cap is a myth.
Yeah.
It's not real. You can always work around it. It's like a small hurdle. So, all right, restricted free agents. There are 3: PJ Washington, Miles Hartfield, Sam Franklin.
PJ Washington plays for the Hornets. Walker
PJ
is
Walker. God, PJ Walker. Sorry.
Walker can walk. Miles Hartsfield, I like back. He's a really good special teams player. Same with Sam Franklin. Yeah. I think that's just, even though they're in new schemes, I think those two, for special teams reasons, could easily come back.
Yeah, and depth at safety, honestly. I mean, they both played last year a decent amount, and they're not liabilities.
No. Well, Miles Hartsfield was sometimes.
I was going to say, Hartsfield at safety, maybe not great, but we've always liked Franklin just as a guy.
Mm-hmm. Hartsfield's a really good guy, too. If you ever find any interviews with him, he's a great interview. Yeah.
Maybe you should get him on the podcast, Jerry. PJ Walker, though, yeah, I mean, obviously he's the headliner here. He's got started games for us at quarterback. Probably not going to be back. It doesn't seem like he's in their plans. I don't know that I've heard his name mentioned once during any press conferences or anything. So
yeah,
Matt Rule guy through and through. All right.
Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and look at some of the Panthers' needs that they can address in free agency or in the draft. But we're gonna go ahead and name a couple of free agents and kind of what their asking price might be and stuff, and just go quickly over them.
We may also mention some guys in the draft too, just to get the full picture. But again, we're doing our player profiles. We're going to go much more into depth with them at a later date. So
starting Thursday. Starting Thursday. We're trying to plug.
Yes.
All right. The biggest need the Panthers possibly have, everybody knows it. It's the biggest unkept secret in the league. Quarterback.
I know. Oh, quarterback. Sorry.
Any quarterback free agents that's worth anything is possibly linked to the Panthers. Derek Carr was, but
some that aren't free agents.
Yeah, and some that aren't. Derek Carr already signed with the Saints. No big whoop. Another possible free agent, Jimmy Garoppolo. His spot rack market value is 4 years, $139 million.
He's not getting anywhere near that.
Average 34. No, I would not. He's too injury prone.
I mean, I've seen that he's looking for a $25 million a year deal. So I don't know where Spot Rack is getting that. I mean, because he has a decent pedigree, right? He has good statistical history. Numbers. He's taken the team to the Super Bowl. He's not a bad quarterback.
No.
He's just not exciting at all.
He's not exciting. He's injury prone. That's my big thing.
He's very injury prone. Yeah.
It's like, yes, he took the team to a Super Bowl, but wasn't he injured that year earlier? Wasn't he injured this year when Brock Purdy took over?
I was gonna say, and Brock Purdy took the team to the Super Bowl. So Brock Purdy is doing the same thing, if not better, than what Jimmy G was doing. What does that say about Jimmy G? I think Jimmy G's okay.
I do too.
Will be a fine quarterback wherever he goes. He'll be number 15. Like he's just going to be right there in the middle. He would be the best quarterback we've had since Cam. Really, anybody that we mention is going to be the best quarterback we've had since Cam. But I don't think Jimmy G fits here.
No, I don't either. Again,
Yeah,
these are just names. I put Case Keenum just as a
I
stopgap.
saw that.
I as a
Interesting.
stopgap bridge quarterback in case they don't want to go the Sam Darnold route. You know, he's another guy who
Yeah.
has some wins underneath his belt. His starting has also been that backup role guy that he could come in here
Yeah.
start for part of the season. There's no
But Case
market.
Keenum or Sam Darnold.
I
Assume the money is the same.
I would go Sam Darnold,
Yeah,
but
I think. Yeah, I think so.
uh, but I was just mentioning him. Jacoby Brissett's another one who's going to be a free
Jacoby
agent.
said I see listed a lot just because of his connection with Frank Reich,
Yes,
obviously. But I don't. I would rather have Sam Darnold than Jacoby Brissett.
I would too.
Just I think they're the same guy, and Sam Darnold's got familiarity with the players already, timing, things like that. You know, he's already got it. So
But you
I
can
would
argue
prefer.
Brissett knows the offense better than Sam would.
That is true. That is true, Jerry. Carson Wentz, and for basically the same reason, you have to mention his name. Another guy I don't really want here.
I don't think Fitter would let him in the door.
I, I hope not, but as a bridge guy, if you can't get it done with Darnold and Brissett signs somewhere else, and is Carson Wentz the next guy to come in for 2 years, 10 million?
I mean, at that point, PJ Walker
Carson Wentz has looked his best with Frank Reich. He's had his best seasons with
in
Frank Reich.
Philadelphia, in
No,
Indianapolis.
even in Indianapolis, statistics wise, he wasn't bad. That team wasn't good,
Okay,
but he wasn't bad.
I would not
I
want him
don't
here.
think I don't want him either. I don't think he's a good quarterback. But he has been his best with Frank Reich
I think
for whatever
whatever
that
injury
means.
that one Super Bowl season just completely derailed anything he had.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was overrated before that, but I agree. Whatever possibility there was, he's not there. I mean, you've got Teddy Bridgewater, if you want to run that back. Um, Marcus Mariota is going to be available. Wasn't awful with Atlanta. Didn't he was hurt a lot, but there's just the free agency list is not that big.
No,
And now that Carr's off, the best player is gone, and the rest is kind of scraps. Other than Jimmy G, there's nobody that's had sustained success. So, um, Aaron Rodgers has been linked by Adam Schefter to the Panthers, but that has been refuted by multiple team reporters, um, saying that is not the case, that they have not reached out. It would not surprise me if they reached out or had already reached
oh
out, just
no.
because why wouldn't you just see what the price is? But that cap hit, I mean, and there'd have to be so much financial
Mm-hmm.
finagling done on both sides. I don't think it makes sense for
And
us.
honestly, I don't think it would make sense for this roster the way it's at. You'd
Right.
throw Aaron Rodgers, who is a guy who is all about himself, onto a young team like this. I feel like that would be.
Yeah, Rodgers wants a ring. Like, he doesn't want to.
I don't think he wants a ring.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think
I'm
if he
sure he
continues to
wants.
play, I think if he continues to play, he wouldn't want to go to an extremely young team that's done nothing, right? I think he would
I
want to
could see
go
that.
to a more. But again, he's been linked to the Jets, so what do I
Well,
know?
I again, the question was, brought to him, and instead of talking about team winning and stuff like that, he said he could play at an MVP level again. So it was like,
Yeah. Which, let me just say, let's Lamar Jackson, another guy, obviously has been linked to the Panthers, a potential trade asset, but I don't think that's going to work either. For basically the same reason, money wise, he wants so much money. He
whew,
wants all of it guaranteed. He is a great quarterback, right?
mm-hmm.
He is where Cam was, better than Cam, I think. Don't guys, but he's where he what he can do throwing the football, I think, is at a higher level than what Cam could do throwing the football. And then he's got the athleticism. He's smart. He's a smart runner in that he gets down.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also, I feel like, kind of shown to be a me first type of guy. With his, he kind of sat out the last game of the season. They expected him to play, and he didn't. I think he's really upset about his contract situation there. Wherever he goes is going to have to pay him $50 million a year guaranteed.
Oh, I agree. I mean, but the talent's
and
there.
Is that where you want to put your money? The talent's there.
And young, and
he's worth it. He's worth the money.
You just risk that. You just are worried about him getting injured with that type of money and the style he plays, because he could be running, not see someone in his peripherals, get clocked. And I mean, look at Cam as happen. Much. Yeah. Look, that hit in Pittsburgh. Yep. Cam's shoulder was never the same after that.
Yep. And I mean, Cam had all those miles on his body already. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys, they just don't last as long. The running quarterbacks, they just don't last. Josh Allen won't last as long. The hits that he takes. This type of guy, there's a shelf life.
Yeah.
And I would be terrified to pay Lamar Jackson guaranteed all that money, knowing that that's coming at some point. Be tough.
It'll be.
I think the Panthers go draft. There's 4 names that are going to go. I mean, you listen to people today, they're all going to go in the top 5. If you hear today, but that'll change over the course of up till the draft. But
I do think that's where we're going. I do think the Panthers have a high probability of trading up for a quarterback.
Yeah, agree. That's what they've been talking about.
Yeah. Let's move on, as we're 40 minutes in now, or close to it.
Yeah, but Jerry, we spent time talking about the quarterback, and I think that was not time wasted. So, guys, if you're still listening, hit us up a comment. Who do you want? What are you looking for, be it free agent or draft pick, for any of these positions? Next is tight end.
Tight end, your favorite position?
Yeah, well, not my favorite position, but the position that, since Greg Olsen got hurt, we haven't had.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important position in today's NFL.
I think it depends on the system, but I agree. I think especially right now, this team is going to need a solid pass-catching tight end. And just looking at some of the top free agents, Mike Gesicki, projected market value 4 years, $32 million. I don't think he fits here. The main reason why is Frank Reich says that he really needs a tight end that can both block and receive, and he's not a good blocker. He is a big style wide receiver that plays.
Yeah, he is not a very physical tight end, unlike next guy, Dalton Schultz, who I think would be perfect here, but is going to be very expensive.
Yeah, I don't think we could afford him in here. The next person we had is Evan Ingram, but it is kind of being reported that he's getting the tag, so we'll just gloss over him. We have Austin Hooper. I'm not really impressed with him, but, maybe.
He would be better than what we have, but he's not a game breaker.
No. Robert Tonyan, Hayden Hurst, Jess Swam, Dan Arnold.
Hey, Dan Arnold's out there. I mean, we didn't really get to have the Dan Arnold experience.
Holy crud, I did not realize Mercedes Lewis is still playing. That dude is 38, almost 39 years old, and he's a free agent this year. He was just playing with Green Bay.
Did he?
Hats off to you, man. Playing at 38 years old at a position like tight end, that's... Wow. Sorry, that just caught me off track. Irv Smith is a very interesting name on this list. He's only 24 years old. He was highly touted, coming out of college. Just never worked out in Minnesota. That'd be interesting pickup.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing behind really good tight ends in Minnesota. He flashed a bit this year. He had a couple of good, like 1 or 2 really good games and a couple of really nice catches. He would be interesting for the right price. But again, I think I'd go draft. Washington out of Georgia, like that's who I really want.
Well, you can't draft everybody, especially if
Well,
I
he
think we're
wouldn't be a first round pick. He'd be an early second round pick.
yeah, but if
So
we're
we could
trading
get
up,
him
we'll
too.
probably be losing that second round pick.
Possible, yeah, it's possible.
So
Either way, there even if it's not him, there it's a deep draft with tight end, and it's a deep free agent draft as well, or free agent class as well. So I think we will get a new tight end, a new starting tight end this season.
yeah, it's unfortunate that we're kind of hamstrung with Ian Thomas's contract from last year, which
Cut him or restructure him.
now, Steven, I want to ask you a question before we move on to edge.
Okay.
What happens if the Panthers don't add any notable tight end either in free agency or draft? I mean, they could draft or sign somebody that's not no name, but you know what I mean, like not a Chris Van Hurst
if
or
they
something
don't
like.
obviously improve the position.
Yes, are you gonna flip your table?
I think so.
All right, so we got our first glitch since, I hardwired everything up here, so I will pause it and be right back.
Okay. So I don't remember exactly what point of the sentence I was in before everything crashed. But if you look at the Super Bowl, see how important the tight ends were for those two teams. And by the way, earlier I mentioned that the 49ers got to the Super Bowl. I know the Eagles got to the Super Bowl. I misspoke. But it's an important position.
Yeah.
The Panthers have to address it. So
especially with a rookie quarterback.
I will be upset if they don't.
Especially with a rookie quarterback.
You need the outlet there.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have CMC to fill that role anymore. CMC took a lot of heat, I think, off of that position. But he's not here anymore.
Mm-mm.
CMC ain't walking through that door.
No, unfortunately not. Let's move on to edge rusher. I mean, we've got Robert Quinn here. We've got Brandon Graham, Yannick Ngakoue, Jadeveon Clowney, Matt Ioannidis is listed as an edge. I don't really see that, but Sean Robinson, Larry Ogunjobi, but he's not a defensive end in my eyes either, but Akeem Hicks is. Just nobody jumps out. Premier pass rushers don't leave.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Panthers and
you let Hassan Reddick go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a ton out there in terms of the Hassan Reddick type talent, right?
No.
So I wonder if this is another one they try to address in the draft. But again, look at our second round edge draft picks. They haven't been great in a long time. So you kind of have to get a guy early or you got to get lucky. So I don't know what they do.
But who knows? Maybe Evero can find a place for Etor. Maybe he unlocks something as like a defensive end in this 3-4 type of thing. I doubt it, but you never know.
This feels like your Ian Thomas hope.
Oh no, I don't have hope. I don't have real hope for him. I'm just saying that it is a new system and maybe he could do something, but I agree. We need
much more hope for Barno, to thrive in this type of system. Or use like we mentioned earlier, use Luvu as an edge rusher.
I think that's what you do.
I think he's got that skill set. Yeah.
I think
So maybe it's not as bad as we think.
This is what I would do. I mean, just with our current team, I would do. I'm not saying go out and sign anybody because I don't like the edge rushers that are out there. I think you go with Burns and Frankie Luvu as the outside linebacker pass rushers. The inside linebacker is still up in flux. I think you have to say Brandon Smith, somebody, and maybe Shaq if he comes back. But again, we don't know that type of situation. Who knows? Maybe Jeremy Chin can become. That's weird for him to be a middle linebacker. But in front of them, I think you put like some sort of nose tackle. I don't know if that's McCall or somebody else. Then you do Brandon or Derek Brown, and maybe Etor as the other defensive end. Just
Hmm.
a bigger body run blocker type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different in the 3-4. So we may already have that talent on the team.
Correct.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's move on to cornerback. That's a position that, you feel pretty good about in terms of the starters if they're healthy.
I, do we look at
Well,
Dante Jackson? He did
I mean,
not
Dante
play very.
Jackson didn't look good. Yeah, he didn't look good. But I do think he was hurt most of the season, even before he officially went out with that final injury. He was hurt most of the season. So I think he's a guy that gets better as the season goes on. I think we've seen that over the years. So, but yeah, in terms of guys that are out there, Marcus Peters, Bradley Roby, James Bradbury, somebody I think they should heavily consider.
I don't think they can afford him. He's gonna get top dollar. He's been a great
Well,
cornerback.
where do you want to spend the bulk of your free agent money?
I guess tight end or linebacker.
Probably defense, right? Because
Yeah,
you're expecting to draft a quarterback. You can bring Dante Foreman back for a reasonable deal. The defense is where we're going to be spending our money this season in free agency, unless they go high end tight end, which I don't think they should do. So yeah, I wouldn't, Bradbury at 12, 15 million a year.
I think he's gonna ask for more than that.
What's his market value, I wonder? We'll look that up, but you're gonna have to spend that money somewhere. And I think
mean,
corner, if you could get a Bradbury, that's a starter for the next 5 years potentially.
I agree if you could get him, but I don't. Again, I've heard that Kansas City's really trying to.
Market value is 15 a year, 15
So,
million a year.
and right now we're over the cap right now. So if you manipulate it down, you still got to sign Bozeman, who's going to cost 10 to 15. You got to sign Foreman or another running back. You can draft one. Those are the only
restructure and free up their way, and they could also, if you give Bradbury 5 years, 90 million, whatever 5 times 15 is, 105. You give him that heavier down the road. Like, it's not a $15 million cap hit this season. It's a $4 million cap hit this season, right? That's how they manipulate it.
Yeah,
so
but
they can make it work.
They could make it work, but then you got to think too. He's 30 or 29 years old. Do you think he's gonna last till 35 playing top end?
We've seen good. We've seen Stephon Gilmore. He's that age. He's really good. Still really good.
So okay,
right?
We'll see. I think we're looking more at the middle of the pack type of the corners, but
we could be. But again, they're gonna have to spend their money somewhere, and cornerback would be a good place to spend it, in my opinion. Safety, we've kind of mentioned that as a need for sure. Jesse Bates, Jordan Poyer, Jimmy Ward, I'd be very interested in. I think he's pretty good. Anybody else on this list that jumps out at you?
No, not really. I mean, Jonathan Abram, maybe, but I mean, that guy flamed out so hard in Oakland and didn't really do much in Seattle. It's just,
yeah.
At what point do you just say?
He would be like a project.
Yeah. Terrell Edmonds,
talent,
but he'll probably get re-signed.
Again, there's not really any game breaker type guys.
Jordan Poyer is, but that's about it, and he's almost 32 years old. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jimmy Ward's 32 years old. They're the same age, but I thought they were both pretty good.
There is what
they were going to do.
One list that I did not put on here. A lot of people think the Panthers need a lot more help at wide receiver. I think, yes, they probably do need to get somebody in here. I like Terrace Marshall Jr. I thought he looked better towards the end of the season, but you do want to bring in another guy. Shi Smith, as much as I really was hoping he could become a good slot, he didn't produce on the field, in my opinion. So if Spot Rack would pull up the free agent wide receivers for me, I could go through the list.
Spot Rack is a little slow at the moment. but yeah, I mean, there's some options out there, but feels like it could be another draft, third, fourth
And this is
round
another
speedster type guy.
deep wide receiver. I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to go too small though. And this draft is filled with smaller receivers.
Well, I mean, if Marshall works out, he's not
He's a big.
small. Then you sign the tight end, who you hope is 6'5" or bigger, and that's your, DJ is good anywhere. So, a smaller slot receiver is kind of what this team needs if Terrace Marshall works out, right?
And that's a big if. And you also got to think too, if we get a tight end that works out. There's a lot of ifs.
Yeah, there is this team. I'm telling you, this team is not just a quarterback away.
Oh, there you
Not
go,
just a
Spot
quarterback
Rack.
away.
There you go. Good job. Good job. Right after we're done talking. Again, I do like Spot Rack, especially for a free service. So I guess we can update to premium, but everything wants us to update to premium.
Everything wants to be premium.
Everything wants the dimes in my pocket.
We don't make enough money off this podcast to go Spot Rack Premium. Again, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And
Robert Woods, Nelson Aguilar, Sterling Shepard, DJ Shark, Randall Cobb, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, Byron Pringle, Alan Lazard, Jacoby Myers. I'm surprised he's a free agent. Deontay Hardy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jarvis Landry, Cams Simpson. I mean, there's some solid guys out there.
Yeah, I've seen Juju talked about as a potential guy for us to go after.
Robert
Cole
Woods.
Hardman. Yeah,
would be a
Robert
good
Woods. I think that I just saw that the Rams want to trade Allen Robinson. So I don't know what they'd want for him, but maybe you look at that route because I think he was criminally underused there.
Yeah,
year.
but you got to also look at what his contract. I felt like he got a pretty decent sized contract. So
yeah, he's not cheap, but he was the number one guy in Chicago. There's no reason he couldn't be anywhere else. All right, I think that's gonna do it. Now, well, let's just real quick. We've got a draft coming up here. Panthers have quite a decent amount of picks so far. We're picking the top 10 of the first and second round. Another second round pick from San Francisco. Then our third round pick is also from San Francisco. 2 fourths, a fifth, and a seventh. So a lot of ammunition for Fitterer this year.
yeah, and that ammunition I think is going to be used to go up to go get their quarterback, and it might be Anthony Richardson, who will be on our first draft profile on Thursday. Hey, plug.
Segue. All right. Yeah, so wait for that. Again, we understand that there are other things that we probably could have gone into a little more depth on here, but this is the first of many off-season podcasts. I promise we'll get to all of them. So
As much as we can.
yes.
As you have 2
All
kids,
right.
I have a kid and family and
Yeah.
work and everything else.
We'll get to. We'll get to them, and if we don't get to them, then tell us, and we will get to them.
We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on our show like our friend Thomas Davis. And please like and subscribe on YouTube.
We'll be back on Thursday with, you guessed it, a player profile of, maybe a prayer profile too, of Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida. So until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.